Yikes! Harry is broke. It is the understanding of the Mark Dolan Show that the Duke of Sussex is in a total state of panic about his finances following the end of his short-lived media career, no further book offers, and absolutely no interest from the world of business in his services. So we've been told that the Prince has crunched the numbers and takes the view, quite rightly, that the Sussexes' lifestyle is no longer sustainable, particularly following revelations that Meghan's jam, honey and flour sprinkles are sitting there gathering dust in a US warehouse, whilst Netflix, of course, pulled the plug on Meghan's TV and film productions and tore up their partnership with Meghan to sell jam. Put bluntly, more money is going out than is coming in, with their heavily mortgaged house costing them more than $500,000 a year. They've got security costs, they've got public relations staff, fixers, advisors, assistants, cooks, cleaners. There's the cost of clothing, luxury goods, hotel accommodation, a pool cleaner, gardeners, international flights, private schooling for Archie and Lily. Their outgoings are eye-watering, and their income is subject to the law of diminishing returns. So it's bad news for all of us because it means more public appearances from the couple as they fight desperately to remain relevant and in the public eye. And it's bad news for the royal family, for King Charles and for William, because the couple are now expected to continue to be fake royals on the world stage with these pretend state visits in order to plug a growing financial hole of their own making. Now, the reason why the couple is so broke is because the Sussex business model was always totally worthless. Why? Because the two people at the heart of this project, Harry and Meghan, are resolutely untalented. Meghan's only talent is ambition, and Harry's was winning the womb lottery by being incubated within Princess Diana. That was his great achievement. Now, in just a moment, I'll tell you how Meghan has turned herself into the new Sarah Ferguson. That's right, Meghan is now arguably worse than Fergie. We'll come to that. Desperately selling photos of herself and selling tickets to a dinner for a few $1,000s in Australia. But be clear, let's talk about Australia, because this visit down under is not about philanthropy and it's not about making the world a better place. It's about making money, which is why Harry has bagged himself a $50,000 speaking engagement whilst in Australia, and he's desperately hoping that there's more of that to come. He's not just hoping, he needs it. This is existential. Harry is flat broke. He's cleaned out, which may well be why he's also stepped up his efforts to reconnect with his father, who he ultimately sees as the man that will bail him out when the Sussexes' finances collapse like a house of cards. And just with the marriage, the finances as well are not built on steady ground. All of it is fake, none of it's real. It's a massive Ponzi scheme. And poor old Charles may have been rejected by his son Harry, but Charles remains the bank of last resort. Now, folks, it's noisy here, it's windy, it's freezing cold. Let's get a nice hot cup of tea. Lovely. Well, I found a great spot outside Bar Bruno in Soho, and they've brewed me a lovely cup of tea. Absolutely delicious. Nice and strong, plenty of milk. Now, Harry, as we know, has been selling his soul for a long time now. It started with the book Spare, with the Harry and Meghan documentary on Netflix. But of course, don't forget those speaking engagements in which what companies do is try to impress their clients once a year with their annual dinner, and they'll get a big name. And normally it's somebody that's accomplished. It'll be a famous actor, a famous politician, a famous entrepreneur. But unfortunately, quite often they've gone for Prince Harry. Why? Because of the word prince, because he's the son of the King of the United Kingdom. He's world famous, not thanks to his talents or efforts, but an accident of birth. So he's been doing those speaking engagements, which, by the way, members of the royal family would never, ever do. William would never do that. Princess Anne would never do that. The King would never do that. They wouldn't take money to speak because the royals are supposed to be philanthropic and give something back. But of course, Harry is completely unscrupulous. He's got no ethics whatsoever, and he's happy to use his royal title to get money from big business. So at the end of last year, it got to a low point because some of those events he was doing were quite significant. They were quite global, massive corporations. A lot of money was involved. It's my understanding at one point he was being paid as much as $200,000 for an appearance, right? 200K. It's quite a lot of cash. That'll pay for a lot of flower sprinkles. But the fees have gone down, down, down. And it's my understanding that he was paid around $50,000 to address some estate agents, right? Realtors in Canada in December, right? Now, 50K, again, to you and I, that's a lot of cash, right? That's living the dream money. But for Harry, that won't even touch the sides. But he's so desperate for cash that he'll do that. He'll lower himself, his status. He'll lower his price in order to get some money in the till. And he goes to Canada and he hangs out with some realtors. And these guys, let me tell you that I know the real estate business very well. And these men, they get together once a year and it's not about the speaker. And it's not about the food. It's not about networking. It's not about doing business. These corporate events, these industry events once a year is about drinking. And it's about beers all day. It's a big day off for all of them. They have a great time. They're doing shots. They're hanging out. They're letting off steam. They work very hard. Estate agents, realtors work very hard. It's a stressful business. And when they get together, what they do, they work hard and they play hard. So Harry has to address this room full of drunk housing salespeople. And it's so undignified. And he's standing there going, oh, hello, I'm really worried about global warming and there's terrible inequality in the world. And by the way, I had a terrible childhood, because I only had access to about 4 palaces. And there's other royals elsewhere in the world that have got more palaces than that. So he's there moaning about his terrible life on stage for $50,000, which to you and I is a lot of money. To Harry is not. It is peanuts, folks. It is loose change down the back of a sofa. And they're there, these estate agents, getting drunk, telling each other incredibly rude, politically incorrect jokes, making inappropriate remarks about Stephanie in accounts and Sharon in the sales department, right? That's what these corporate events are. It's unedifying. By the way, can I just tell you that the weather in London is outrageous at the moment. I don't have cameraman John with me today, which is why the camera is flying all over the place. But the United Kingdom did not get the memo that it's spring. The other great regret that I've got is that I'm actually dressed really nicely today, but you wouldn't know because it's so cold I've had to wrap up. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to reveal my outfit at the end of today's show, and I won't let you down. See you soon, boss. Thanks for that. Really nice. So, yeah, really, really great. That was the boss of Bar Bruno, where I am, and they do such a great omelette. What do you think of an omelette? Let me know in the comments. Do you like an omelette? By the way, there's so much to get through. Quickly, from yesterday's show, I talked about how Buckingham Palace will be the best place in the world to play hide and seek. And then I said in America, they call it hide and go seek. Well, it turns out that most Americans do not call it hide and go seek. They call it hide and seek, just like the Brits. And in fact, only a few Americans call it hide and go seek. Apparently it's regional. So most Americans hide and seek, which is a great game. And some Americans hide and go seek. And I think we can all agree we don't really need the word go. It's unnecessary. The other thing to say is that the Australians, which is a magnificent country that the Sussexes are about to destroy, the Australians call it hidey. Isn't that brilliant? It shows the efficacy of the Australian people with language. Hidey. Short for hide and go seek. It's brilliant. Well done, Australia. So, Harry, so I'll show you my outfit at the end of the show. So he's going to estate agents, drunk estate agents, at the end of last year, who probably threw napkins and bread rolls at him going, shut up, we're bored of this. They're Canadians, so they have to speak only from one part of their mouth. Shut up, this is really boring, Harry. We want to get drunk and talk about Stephanie and sales. Get off the stage, you're really boring.
It's the same.
That's most likely what happened. Anyhow, he's taken the same fee for a new gig in Australia, right? He's going to speak at a workplace mental health summit in Melbourne. Now, this is wild, okay, because he's going to talk about mental health. Can you think of anyone worse to advise a group of people on mental health? given that he's the world's least happy millionaire. He's a grey cloud of a human being. Crisis support organisation Lifeline NARM has confirmed that Harry will appear as a speaker at its Inter-Edge Psychosocial Safety Summit. What is that? It sounds very, very woke, is all I'm going to say. It sounds crazy woke. It's all going to be about microaggressions, isn't it? And generational trauma. Seriously, why can't these people just get a life? What was it Joan Rivers used to say? Get over yourself. Life is difficult, the end. Anyhow, the Inter-Edge Psychosocial Safety Summit, which is being held on April the 15th and April the 16th. Tickets for that gathering, which also features names including tennis star Jelena Dokic, begin at $2,000 and rise to more than $15,000 for a platinum table for 8 guests. Let me tell you that I would pay more than that. I would pay $30,000 to not listen to Prince Harry on stage moaning about his terrible life and having a rant about the US president and talking about how unequal the world is, even though he's the world's most famous aristocrat, multimillionaire spoiled brat. By the way, multimillionaire, not for long. Now, this event, we're told, is intended to bring together international change makers. Well, I will say that Harry does change stuff. He makes stuff that's good turn to absolute crap. They're going to bring international change makers for conversations about how to create psychologically safe, mentally healthy and high-performing workplaces. What is a psychologically safe workplace? I'm all for people being happy, talking about their feelings, absolutely. I've got viewers that are struggling. Life is difficult, and you should always reach out. And sometimes it's very moving in the comments to see what you guys are going through, what we all go through, because we're human beings. But psychologically safe, mentally healthy, and high-performing workplaces, well, that is a word salad that's perfect for Prince Harry. They also want to deliver lasting improvements in workplace culture and well-being. Carrie Leeson, the chief executive of the Inter-Edge Summit, said that the organisers were honoured to have Harry taking part. Well, if they're honoured to have Harry, what's wrong with them? They need psychological help, don't they? If they're honoured to have Harry, then I suggest an intervention is required. If you're, as an organisation, honoured to have Harry, then I think you need to go to the funny farm. I think it's time to call the men in white coats. I think it's time for a tranquilizer injection and some electric shock therapy. Imagine writing that sentence. We're honoured to have Prince Harry taking part. This expert on mental well-being. A man who's in a permanent state of deep depression and distress. In a media statement, Lifeline NARM said the prince had dedicated his life to service and uplifting communities, while emphasising the importance of our collective mental health in his philanthropic and advocacy work globally. Now, I think before they wrote that sentence, the folk at Lifeline NARM were on mind-altering substances. I think that's, or they were having a mental episode. Perhaps that's what it was, a little bipolar moment where they lost control. Harry has dedicated his life to service. No, he hasn't. He's dedicated his life to Harry. And since the old Duchess of Sussex, he's dedicated his life and given up his life for Meghan Markle, which is, of course, the main theme of yesterday's show. If you've not seen it, I would highly, highly recommend it. It is outside Buckingham Palace. So Harry's desperate, and he's now going to take money. And by the way, some would argue, please let me know if you disagree in the comments. Some would argue that this Australian organisation, this summit, is actually very good. They do great work, and it's very valuable what they do. And that may be the case. Who could get angry about the idea of workplace happiness? My issue is that Harry is going to be the face of that. A man so bitter and angry with the world. He is not a psychological role model. But I'm sure that they do good work. But why are they giving money to Harry? And why is Harry taking money from them? Why can't he just do it on the house? Just say, look, I really believe in this cause and I won't take any money. Same thing as the book Spare. I'd have had no problem. Well, I'd have had less of a problem with the book Spare if it had been unpaid. If the money had gone to charity, you'd be like, okay, he wants to get his side of the argument out there. I'll take that. But the minute money's involved, you become ethically compromised. And if he's taking money from this mental health charity, well then, you know, it's pretty outrageous. But he's doing it because he needs the money. Folks, he will do anything. He'll walk down the street wearing a sandwich board if he has to. He'll be one of those guys that stands on the street corner eventually, holding up a sign that says golf sale. Do you know about that? You get people, we have that in the UK. Do you have that elsewhere in the world? Where it's someone's job to hold up an advertising sign all day. And the reason why is because there's laws about advertisements going up in the street. You can't just put an advertisement up on a building. And you normally have to pay a lot of money for an advertising billboard. Pay a lot of money. So companies will just use an individual. Let's just call him Bobby. There'll just be a guy called Bobby, right? A member of the team at work who's maybe on the lower end of the IQ spectrum, right? Not very bright is little Bobby. And Bobby will get employed just to stand on the street holding a sign and it says golf sale. And then he's like within the law because it's a human being holding the sign. He can't be moved on. And I think Harry eventually he'll be holding the golf sale sign, and metaphorically. So he'll do anything for money. And the guy is desperate. The problem you've got, it's a big problem. I'll come to Meghan in a second, what she's up to. But the problem you've got for King Charles is that as Harry needs the money, it means that Meghan and Harry will go further to get cash, and they will spill more royal secrets. They'll try to write more books. They'll try to do more podcasts. When they did the initial flurry of publicity, they were still sitting on a quite healthy bank balance because Harry had all his inheritance from the Queen Mother and his late mother Diana. And then the book Spare took care of things, and Netflix. So they were kind of flush for cash for a while, but they're not now. And Sun Tzu, who's the author of The Art of War, is on record as saying that, it's in his book, beware the enemy that has nothing to lose. And I just think that kind of homeless Harry is a very dangerous creature altogether. Hobo Harry, sleeping rough in a tent. Well, he already looks like a homeless man, doesn't he? So he's halfway there. He's got the apparel, the wispy beard, and the look of a heavy drinker about him. But yeah, Harry, the poorer Harry gets, the more dangerous he gets. Same with Meghan. So Meghan is going to top the bill at a $2,000 girls' weekend like no other. That's what they're calling it in Australia, where Meghan will give a speech, may God help us, at a gala dinner and take part in photo opportunities with VIP attendees. Meghan's going to be at this event. It's in Coogee Beach, and it's a girls' weekend like no other, presumably like no other because it will be a miserable experience in the company of a scheming, dangerous, gold-digging narcissist. So in that way, it'll be a girls' weekend like no other, in that normally a girls' weekend is a tremendous, wonderful thing. But with Meghan, it will be the opposite. So she's the keynote speaker on April the 17th at the Her Best Life retreat, which is being sold as an unforgettable weekend for women ready to reconnect, recharge, and have some serious fun. What does Meghan know about fun? She hasn't got a fun bone in her body. She's a dark, terrifying human being. She's got something of the night about her. She's not a sunny person. She's terrifying. Don't you know I'm not Meghan Markle anymore? I'm Meghan Sussex. Let me know in the comments. Do you find Meghan scary? I find her scary. I do. I am scared of Meghan. I think Harry's stupid and ignorant and selfish and indulgent and entitled and definitely a bit of a narcissist. But he doesn't scare me. Somebody that unintelligent and that sort of innocuous doesn't really bother me. Meghan, on the other hand, yikes. It wouldn't surprise me if it transpired that, like an alien, she just eats raw liver from the fridge in the dead of night. Anyhow, and also, they talk about this unforgettable weekend in the company of Meghan. It will be unforgettable. because they'll have PTSD. It'll be like whoever goes on this retreat, that'll be their Vietnam. They will get flashbacks. Have you seen tragic footage of people that came back from the First World War, and they'd be in the house and they would randomly jump under the table because they thought there was a bomb? Really tragic. The mental damage from those two world wars. Well, people will be jumping under the table having spent 2 nights in the company of Meghan Markle. My husband. I pity them. They're going to need a lifetime of therapy, aren't they? An unforgettable weekend for women ready to reconnect, recharge, and have some serious fun. The promotional copy declares, by the way, let me know in the comments, do you think I should dress up as a lady and go? Shall I go? The thing is, right, it's 2026. Anyone's a lady now, aren't they? It's an amazing development that you don't have to actually do the hard work of being a woman anymore, and the everyday sexism and dealing with awful, difficult men and, you know, bad relationships and all of that, childbirth, the menopause. You don't have to do the work of being a woman anymore. You just decide, I'm a lady today. That's the new world, apparently. So maybe I go. Maybe on that date, 17th of December, I become Marcia Dolan. Let me know in the comments. What do you think? Hello. My name's Marcia Dolan from the Marcia Dolan Show on YouTube. And it's the lady version of Mark Dolan. How are you? And I'm in high heels stilettos and a tank top and a little 1960s style miniskirt, which is barely there. What do you think? Do you like Marcia Dolan? Anyway, shall I go to this bloody thing? What do you reckon? Because it sounds amazing. It's going to be an unforgettable weekend. But the problem is it's for women. So I'll have to decide, like, at the last minute that I'm a lady now. And because Meghan is pretty ultra woke herself, I don't think she's in a position to turn me away, is she? If I've decided I'm a lady that day, then I don't think she can turn me away. That would be a scandal among her progressive friends of Montecito, California. You know, her incredibly rich socialist friends. How does that make sense? Okay, so these people who are so rich and so progressive, they've never seen a poor person. It's quite amazing. How do they know about poor people? Have they read about them or something? I read about it in a magazine. No, Benny and the Jets. So the promotional copy declares the highlight will be an in-person conversation with Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex. Do you see how they're still, and Meghan is still using that title? It's absolutely criminal that she's making money from being called Duchess. Meghan, Duchess of Sussex. It's so wrong that she's endlessly attacked the royal family. She hates the royal family. She wants to destroy them. It was awful being a royal. No one asked her how she was. The press were awful to her. And yet she hangs on to that title. If you really hated your time as a royal, you wouldn't want any reminders of that period of your life. And therefore you would not keep the name. Because it would be a bit like, imagine if you were married to somebody called John Smith, who was an awful husband. And then imagine you divorced John Smith, right, and your name is Rebecca Smith. You're not going to keep the name Smith, are you? Because you didn't like John Smith. It was a bad time of your life. You go back to being called Rebecca Evans, your original name. So if we're to believe Meghan that it was so awful as a frontline serving royal, why does she keep the title? Well, because it wasn't so awful serving as a royal. She was lying. So the promotional copy declares the highlight will be an in-person conversation with Meghan, Duchess of Sussex. The marketing also highlights her record-breaking podcast, Archetypes. Record-breaking, folks. It did break a record in that it was the worst podcast that's ever been made. It nearly caused the cancellation of all podcasts. It was so bad that the authorities were thinking, should we just not allow any more podcasts in case a podcast as bad as Archetypes ever happens again? It was like a natural disaster. It was like an earthquake and a hurricane rolled into one. Yes, it was record-breaking. It was record-breakingly badly reviewed. And it was record-breakingly not listened to. There was also her globally celebrated podcast, Netflix series, With Love Meghan. They called it globally, in this description, they called it globally celebrated. No, globally detested. And her lifestyle brand, as ever, which we know is a complete dead duck with piles of jam gathering dust in an American warehouse. So guess how many people Meghan is going to drum up for this huge event aimed at women? 300. You heard it right, folks. Not 3,000 or 30,000 or 300,000 or 3 million. 300 attendees. And they won't sell all the tickets. It'll be like when Meghan was at the Sundance Film Festival announcing her documentary film about cookie makers and the Girl Scouts. That was half full. And Meghan's people were like, you know, she was very much like Donald Trump about it. Do you remember when Donald Trump said that he had the busiest inauguration attendance? Meghan was like that. The Sundance was empty. It was half full. And Meghan's like, it was full. Never been fuller. I can assure you, it's, I'll be quite honest with you, it's the fullest it's ever been. It's never been fuller. It's never been better. It's the greatest documentary and the fullest crowd. So many people. Too many people. We had to turn people away. It was so busy. I'll be quite honest with you about that. So up to 300 attendees, it won't sell out, where they will hear an in-person conversation with Meghan, as well as take part in yoga classes and a sound healing session and meditation and manifestation experience and a dinner and disco. The event, dubbed Megstock by some, will be held at the Intercontinental Hotel in Sydney, which, let me tell you, is nothing special. How the mighty have fallen. There was a time when Meghan would be accommodated at Claridge's and the Ritz, the Dorchester Hotel, and the Waldorf Astoria, the Drake Hotel in Chicago. What a lovely... Can I tell you, let me say just this. I stayed with my family in the Drake Hotel. We didn't know it was such a posh hotel, and we were lucky. We got a deal or something. We found ourselves, I believe, in the greatest... Is it the best hotel in Chicago? It's definitely a good one. And we were on a floor that had its own bar. I was with my lovely American family, including my uncles and aunties, and one of my uncles helped himself to that bar. And let me tell you, we got through... Well, I was young at the time. They got through half of that bar. Lots and lots of Johnny Walker Black Label. Quite an evening. The Drake Hotel. I think it's been made famous by a movie. Anyway, she should be staying in these top places. Now she's at the Intercontinental, and it's nothing special. I've seen pictures of the pool, and it looks like it could be drained and given a deep clean, actually. In that picture, I think I saw moss. I think I saw weeds and a dead frog is what I think I saw. So she's at the Intercontinental, which is nothing special. And she's described as a mother, wife, entrepreneur, and humanitarian. My goodness, this woman does not have a low self-esteem, does she? Recognized by Time and Vogue as one of the world's most influential women. This is what they describe on the press release. Meghan remains a dedicated champion of mental health and the rights of women and girls. Really? What about, if we talk about rights of women, what about the right of Queen Elizabeth to enjoy the last years of her life and not live with the permanent anxiety of what was going to be in the book Spare, because the announcement of that book's publication happened while she was still alive. And by the way, in this description of the event, they've said that she's been recognized by Time as one of the world's most influential women. That's not true. She went to the Time 100 Most Influential People Awards. She wasn't one of them. She wasn't on that list. She gave an interview at that event that she was not one of the 100. So that's actually a lie. 300 guests. All she can rustle out. She won't manage 300. Let me know in the comments, how many do you think will turn up? I'm going to give you, I say 120. And those people won't be well. They're not going to be healthy people. Loners, heavy drinkers, beatniks, ne'er-do-wells, thugs, ruffians, lead swingers, and window lickers. I think that's what we're looking at, folks. According to the event organizer, Her Best Life podcast host, Gemma O'Neill, Meghan personally made contacts about participating in this event. So, folks, she wasn't even invited. Let that sink in for a second. She demanded to be there, just like she demanded to go to Paris Fashion Week. You know that? She was pestering that designer. It was Balenciaga, wasn't it? It's one of those posh fashion labels. By the way, I'm going to reveal today's outfit today. If it wasn't so cold, if London had got the memo that it's spring, which in French is printemps, and in German is Frühling. Auf die Treppe Schnee! You'll see the outfit in a minute. But anyway, so she has actually demanded to go. Why? Why has she done it? Well, because they are broke. Meghan's, by the way, if there's one thing about Meghan, right? She's not stupid. I think she's brighter than Harry. Let me know in the comments who's brighter. She's not a genius, but she's got an iron will and she's consumed with ambition. She's very good at getting what she wants. And I think she's strategic. I think she's got a strategic intelligence and she's ruthless. Let me know in the comments, who is smarter, Meghan or Harry? So she's not stupid. She knows that they're broke as well. So she's begged basically, hi, it's Meghan Markle. Please may I participate in the Ultimate Girls Weekend? Gemma O'Neill is revealing that she didn't even want Meghan to come. Meghan engineered the whole thing. She said, I've admired Meghan and what she's endured and how she's demonstrated how a woman can be pushed down and still rise. Pushed down by marrying a prince and inheriting millions of dollars and living in castles and palaces. How is that being pushed down? You're being lifted up, dear. And it's interesting how she says, this lady, O'Neill, I have to say what she's endured, how she's demonstrated how a woman can be pushed down and still rise. I've admired Meghan. Have you noticed how all the friends have to pay respect to Meghan? Right? No relationship with Meghan is equal. She must have control. And everyone's got to kiss the ring. Everyone. I want to kiss the ring. Yep. When the preacher said, is there anyone here got a reason why they shouldn't wed? I should have stopped up my hand. I should have got up to stand. And this is what I should have said. I want to kiss the bride. That's a song by Elton John, 1983. Recorded on an album called Too Low for Zero. Recorded by a lady called Renata Blowell. She was the recording engineer on that album. And that's the woman that Elton John married. Only a few months later. Very sweet, sweet lady who went away quietly after the divorce. She only took about $5 million. She could have had $50 million. She could have cleaned Elton out. And she didn't. She was a lovely, sweet, nice lady. God bless Renata Blowell. Very dignified lady. Can't have been easy being married to Elton John. And then the divorce and everything. So, and he's always been very sweet about her, actually. He loved her a lot. But he was not attracted to women. So that was always going to be a minor issue. I think we can agree. Shall we mark that one down as problematic? But God bless him for trying. Very sweet. Right. But you noticed every friend of Meghan's has got to kiss the ring. They've got to pay their respects like she's Don Corleone. She actually looks a bit like Don Corleone, don't you think, from The Godfather? My husband, you come to see me. I'm going to introduce you to Harry, my husband. You got to learn about my flower sprinkles. If you don't buy the flower sprinkles, you'll be swimming with the fishes. Capiche? All the friends, you saw that on that show with Love Meghan. All the friends have got to pay respect and tell her how amazing she is. Why? Because she's a freak show. Speaking to listeners on Wednesday, this lady, O'Neill, who I've got no doubt is a very nice lady, very accomplished, very talented, she explained that she actually initially rejected Meghan's request to be at this event. I mean, this is not encouraging, is it? She said she initially felt unworthy before ultimately changing her mind following what she described as a lot of reflection. I don't think it was a lot of reflection. I think it was Meghan going, you got to have me. Those purchasing VIP tickets priced at $2,000 will receive front row seats. Can you imagine anything worse than being close to Meghan? I'd take the cheap seats at the back and then I'd get out like during the interval, go to a bar and have a nice evening. That's what I would do. Did that once, went to the theatre with a friend and it was just awful the first half. We left in the interval and we filled our boots at a local distillery. I can't lie, it was never a mistake. So those purchasing VIP tickets will get front row seats. Girls' weekend like no other. Join us for an intimate luxury weekend by the ocean designed to bring women together. Powerful conversations, relaxation, laughter, and unforgettable experiences. By the way, there's a recurring theme. It's all about women because Meghan hates men. Look at her treatment of Piers Morgan, her half-brother, Thomas Markle Sr., Jr., her father, Thomas Markle Sr., who was fighting for his life in a Philippines intensive care unit, down to his last leg. And all she does is send him an angry legal letter saying, stop talking to the press. And look at her treatment of Harry. She treats him like a second-class citizen, like something that you'd find on your shoe. The highlight of the weekend, apparently, will be an in-person conversation and gala dinner with Meghan. This is your chance to step away from everyday life. Yeah, exactly, around normal people. Spend a weekend focusing on connection, growth, joy, and celebration. What does Meghan know about joy? She brings misery in her midst. She makes Kathy Bates from the film Misery look like a really sweet, welcoming lady. Come by yourself, they say. Come with your best friend or bring a whole group of your favourite women. Have you noticed how desperate they are? They don't care who comes and in what context. Just please buy a ticket because Meghan's broke and Harry is broke. Gemma O'Neill said she's doing it, Meghan doing it, because she loves what our community is about, which is women trying to grow, trying to be their best selves, and trying to help other women. Tell that not only to Queen Elizabeth, tell that to Jessica Mulrooney, Meghan's very long-standing best friend, who Meghan dumped amid a totally non-existent row about prejudice and RACISN. Poor old Jessica hasn't got an RACIST bone in her body. But Meghan gets a whiff of scandal, drops her like a hot coal. What about Mindy Kaling? Tell Mindy Kaling about whether Meghan wants to help other women. Mindy Kaling is an incredibly talented producer, comedian, actor, and writer who starred in The Office in America. She's a genius. And Meghan literally shouted at her on her TV show. Meghan is so repulsive, so vicious, so angry, so toxic, so consumed with rage that she can't even be nice when the cameras are rolling. And she can't even be nice in the edit, because they could have cut this stuff of Meghan being obnoxious out. But I think if they'd removed obnoxious Meghan, there would have been no show. There'd have just been like a couple of frames of her putting milk in a cup of tea, and that would be it. That's all, folks. When you were a kid watching cartoons, do you remember when Porky Pig used to go, that's all, folks? Do you remember the disappointment that the cartoon was ending? It was so disappointing when cartoons ended. You were having such a good time with a cartoon, it would end. That's all, folks. And then, do you remember when you were watching cartoons and then sometimes it was over and then another cartoon would immediately start? Do you remember when networks would put 2 or 3 cartoons back to back? What a feeling. I've got another one coming. So nice. Right, we're going to wrap this up in just a second. Can't tell you how cold it is, but I'm still going to reveal today's outfit. Meghan was so toxic, and is so toxic, she couldn't even be nice on TV with the cameras rolling. And Mindy Kaling, talented actress, accomplished person unlike Meghan, says it's a real treat to be working with Meghan Markle. And Meghan, a flash of fury in her eyes, goes, "Did you know I'm not Meghan Markle anymore? I'm Meghan Sussex!" And the look on Mindy Kaling's face, and Mindy Kaling's been around the block a few times. She can look after herself. She's got a thick skin. Mindy Kaling is robust. I like Meghan Markle. She has a robust immune system and an excellent calcium. I'm Rupert Murdoch, the world's greatest media entrepreneur. Meghan Markle, I'd like to marry her because I'm a billionaire. She needs the money. She has an excellent calcium to enamel ratio in her teeth and very long dental nerves. She's robust, got thick hair and strong eyes. Mindy Kaling would look horrified at being shouted at by Meghan Markle on TV and humiliated. But that's the thing about these pathological people. They can't keep the mask on for too long. You know, they just can't do it. So the whole thing is wild. Meghan's desperate. And as the brilliant Rebecca English, the royal editor of the Daily Mail, said in an article this week, which I highly recommend. Go and look at the Daily Mail. It's fantastic for royal exclusives. Rebecca English has got to be one of the best royal journalists on the planet, who's currently being sued by Prince Harry, her newspaper. We're going to report on that shortly again, by the way, back down to the Royal Courts of Justice. But a really good piece by Rebecca English. An insider has told Rebecca English that essentially Meghan is turning into Fergie, right? Sarah Ferguson. And it's very, very apt. It's exactly what she's telling. You know what a grifter Sarah Ferguson is? Let me know in the comments. Who's worse, Sarah Ferguson or Meghan? Who's worse? Let me know. I'd be fascinated what you think. By the way, one little other detail about this dinner. There's going to be drinking involved, right? Alcohol will be available on both nights. And let me tell you, they're going to need a drink. They will need it, folks. And the last thing to say is there's going to be goodies, a goodie bag, probably full of low value items. I'm thinking the unsold jam and flour sprinkles that are gathering dust in an American warehouse, and a signed copy of Spare. It's inevitable, isn't it? And Harry will be there. He'll have some sort of role. Maybe he'll be like cleaning the rooms or something, carrying Meghan's bags, obviously, and just walking around her slavishly going, "Oh, Meghan, you're so amazing. You're so inspiring." And I don't know whether Doria will be there, because Doria may be back in jail. I don't know if she'll be in the slammer again or not. They'll be pleased to see her, won't they? They'll be Big Sue will be so happy to have her back. One of the great prison romances, Doria and lovely, lovely Big Sue. Can I just say that I'm joking? Doria Raglan has never been to jail. All I will say is that if she had gone to prison in her life, she would have done very well. If she did go to, she might still go to jail. And if she does, I think she will do very well. I think she's a strong person. She's resourceful. She's entrepreneurial. She can sell like mind-altering substances and stuff like that. And the other great thing about her is that, you know, she's independent food-wise, because Meghan will come sometimes. "Hi, Mother, I visited you in the slammer, and I've got honey and jam and flour sprinkles." "No thanks, Meghan. I'll stick to the prison grub." So, folks, it's been great to chat. Thank you for joining me for this lovely cup of tea in Soho. Now, I must keep my promises. So this is today's outfit. So wasted not being able to... first of all, let me get mic'd up for you. Very important that you hear every word. Look at that tie. Don't you think that's nice? Got a smart jacket. Getting it all done today, you know, making a real effort. But honestly, in the comments, shall I go to Meghan? Shall I fly to Sydney and go to this event as Marcia Dolan? What do you think? Anyway, well, how's the outfit? I hope it's all right. I think it's not too bad, is it? It's a different collar. It's a classic collar rather than the cutaway. Mix it up a little bit, folks. It's been great to chat. Do you know what? It's not that cold. Maybe I could have worn the suit for the whole video, but I can't redo it now. There's no way that either of us want to relive that experience. Flower sprinkles, inspirational women, you're welcome. We support each other and lift each other up by pushing each other down. Don't you know I'm not Meghan Markle anymore? Folks, it's been great to chat. Please like, subscribe, hit your notification bell. Next scheduled show is Sunday, but you never know when there's a show coming along. By the way, there are hundreds of shows. All of it is gold. So therefore, if you fancy, why don't you dip back into the back catalogue? Because a lot of the shows and the themes of the shows are very evergreen. Just like the song Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. When are you gonna come down? When are you going to land? Should have stayed on the farm. Should have listened to my old man. Maybe you may, but I forgot the lyrics. See you next time. Bye.